Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of
Ghetto.
My name is Hans.
I'm Edward.
And we're your hosts for now and forevermore.
Until one of us becomes a singer apparently and just
Oh,
runs away.
thank you.
What was that about?
I don't know.
How are you?
I am very well, thank you, Edward. Before we do get into the meat and potatoes, which is an expression that I totally dislike, of Gettle, yeah. Welcome to one of the internet's best repositories for gaming, entertainment, technology, and lifestyle. News, reviews, previews, and awesome discussion, all wrapped up in a wonderful geeky
cake that kills Joffrey Baratheon.
Oh.
Yeah.
You know
that I don't know why that's on my mind now.
I mean, how did he die again? I can't
by
remember.
The cake. Well,
was it by? No, he ate something, right?
The poison was in the cake. Yeah.
Was it in the cake?
Well, in his wedding cake.
Oh.
Yeah.
I actually just saw the most amazing video this morning of some lady creating like a bulldog cake. I sent it to you.
Yeah.
How incredible. Okay. Anyway,
so
before we digress even further, Edward,
we broke the record, I think, again.
How are you doing this week?
I'm actually good.
Good, so am I, actually.
I'm
Hey, isn't that nice?
Yeah,
for a change. I mean, the tiredness is always there, and we've made a behind the scenes pinky promise to no longer speak about it.
Yeah.
But you'll just be able to see it in our eyes.
We'll just slowly degrade.
Well, everybody, if you are one of our regular Gettle folk, welcome to Gettle 62, Season 2, Episode 20. If you are new, welcome, and we hope you enjoy.
So bitches.
Okay, Ed.
Yes.
So, first things first, which is our normal new thing that we do every week now.
Our traditional new thing.
Our traditional new the weekly question. Okay, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
To our wonderful listeners, listen to what I have to say. Form your opinion. Once you have it, the moment you have your answer, even while you're listening to this episode, just DM us, tweet it, whatever it is you want to do, comment.
In the comments.
Right, Ed. To binge or watch weekly, does one option rule them all, or is there an intermediate solution?
Okay, so the immediate answer
you are wrong.
Is to
there
binge
is
or not
only
to binge, okay. Always binge,
yes,
but not
absolutely.
always.
So, okay.
If that makes sense.
So, yes. So, this is why I'm so glad that we can discuss this together.
Yeah.
So, there was this article from IGN, and they wrote this really lengthy piece about the distinction between should something be produced to be binged, as in the Netflix model, whereby the full season drops the Friday, you can watch it whenever you want, how you want, whatever.
Yeah.
Versus what Disney and HBO and a lot of the traditional cable companies are doing on digital streaming platforms. And that's whereby they'll either release one episode week by week, or they'll drop 3 to entice you in, and then week by week until it's done.
That's what they've been doing lately. And
look, that's what Apple has been doing.
Yeah.
So let me put it this way. Long before the advent of broadband internet, because yes, it can be bad at times.
It can really be bad at times, yeah.
I used to DVR all the shows we would watch.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is I would set the DVR up. I would record, the ones I remember distinctly was Lost on Mnet.
Oh no.
And I would then manually, before we watch an episode, go through and cut out all the ads. All right.
How?
It was just the DVR, just the way that it worked. Just remember, this is way before
it's a
internet.
fancy machine.
Well, it was okay.
See, I'm thinking VHS tapes.
No. I'm talking about we had a.
Oh no, we used to do VHS.
So
okay.
I've always been lucky enough to have a home media center PC.
Yeah.
So at the time, we bought capture cards and you plug them in and whatever, and we would literally watch DSTV and that through the computer.
Yes.
And then what I would do is that I would obviously manually record all the stuff.
Yeah.
And then I would go through and I'd cut out all the ads. And then sometimes we would just wait until a show was what we thought was completed or like 5 episodes in,
and then watch.
You know. So I've been doing this for as long as I can. Well, not as long as I can remember. That's not true. I would say for at least 20 years, 25 years, I've been doing this. You know, so for me, I believe wholeheartedly in the binge model. I think that's the way that everything should be. You know, with an exception to a certain kind of content, which I'll speak about in a second.
Okay.
But I just feel that specifically now, like if we think of the future and where we're going, and the fact that we live in an age of instant consumption, I no longer feel it is appropriate for companies to dictate how media should be consumed. I mean, imagine YouTube doing that. Imagine YouTube being like, you know, oh no, okay, granted, YouTube's a bit different because you often wait for creators to make content, so you're generally waiting week by week anyway.
It could be
but
the same.
The thing is, the content's not serialized, you know, meaning that it's not like you're waiting to know what's going to happen in the next episode because it's continuing on from the previous one.
Well,
you know what I mean, though. Like, I mean, like if you're looking at tech reviews and stuff, yes, maybe they'll mention something's coming, but that's not the same.
I'm thinking like either Let's Plays or like I'm watching a Dungeons and Dragons show called Critical Role. That's episodic.
But now you see, again, that's different because that pertains to the content. Like, for example, a streamer recording themselves, you can't expect them
to be
consistently doing that. Like, they have to do other things or play other games. So that's a little bit different. I mean, what we're specifically talking about is content that is completely pre-planned, pre-produced, and made to be a singular whole. Meaning a show of 10 episodes. Yeah. You know?
Handmaid's Tale or whatever.
Thank you. Yes. Anything to that effect. And so I believe it should be binge-worthy for almost everything. The only thing I would say maybe could be out of the realm of instant binge from the moment that it's ready is reality TV. It would be the only thing that I would... Also because a lot of the times, like The Circle that I mentioned a few weeks back, which was it's a great show. There is audience participation to a degree, and the thing is, if you have audience participation, it's not possible to do a full binge of like 10 episodes at once, because then how does the audience participate?
But in saying that, though, okay, I've been watching Ink Master. Now, it's recently been cancelled because drama, whatever, red politics, which also had audience participation in the mid-season finales and stuff. But I've been watching it back. Like, I already watched the first 8 seasons. Well, the first 7 seasons. It's 8 is the last. And in watching them back, you don't care about that kind of thing. It's just skip, go to the next episode.
Yes.
So it depends also on the time.
That's like a retrospect thing. Specifically, what I'm talking about is like in The Circle, what they did is they were like
first watch.
Yeah, we're gonna first watch. I mean, if you watched it after the show had finished, ended, of course, there's no audience participation for you, which is what I did. You know, but what I mean is like if a show does have that, where they're like, okay, next week's episode, we want you to tell us who you think is blah blah blah. Text this number.
Yeah.
You know, so but again, that's also mostly reality TV.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. It's exactly what it is.
So even if you're able to binge watch the show later because you missed the original airing, it still works better as a week by week release.
Because then you can participate.
Yes. Yeah. Whereas things like what Disney's doing with Loki, how they're literally releasing an episode week by week. And how, you know, you look at that and you're a bit like, well, I mean, I suppose that can work, but there are also many times where it doesn't work. Yeah. And there is one very particular show that I recently watched that I actually do want to review for Gettle. And I wasn't expecting to bring it up so soon, but I hope you don't mind. We'll just lead straight into it.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
And this is. Do you want to add anything else quickly before we?
I just wanted to. In mentioning Loki now on Disney Plus, I will say, after having binged WandaVision, I feel like that kind of show also works well with weekly.
You see, I would agree with that. So we waited for WandaVision to finish.
Yes.
And then we binged it. And I realized that that could have been week by week.
But
do you want to know why? And this is a discussion we've had before.
Why?
It's serial versus procedural.
But even then, it still has the arc.
It's too minimal. So remember the last time we discussed this, and I mentioned it's very much like CSI.
Yes.
So yes, every episode is self-contained. Oh, but sure, there is some overarching.
But that's like
but it's that kind of a thing that is best suited to week by week. Because it's 90% self-contained,
yes,
and like 10%
it's not
something
24.
around. Yes. Like 24. Oh man, do you know how amazing it would be to binge 24?
I know how amazing it is to binge 24.
Look,
anyway,
overall though, and I know you feel the same way. Binge is where it's at.
Yes,
for
most stuff.
Yeah, this whole thing of making people wait and so on and so forth.
It sucks.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah,
it's not great. Yeah. At least that's how it feels.
Yeah.
And now leading into the review of a show that I wasn't going to speak about so quickly, but I want to, is where things work and don't work for binge versus week by week, right? And I recently watched The Mare of Easttown on HBO, and it's a I would say it's a good show. It's very much a whodunit. And it stars Kate Winslet in the leading role. And she is incredible. She needs to get a Golden Globe or something for this role because her range is just phenomenal. Now, relating back to the question that we started Gettle off with, the reason why I specifically want to mention this show is because the first episode was so boring. No, for real. So Mare of Easttown released week by week.
Yeah.
Okay, it follows the HBO model. Even though it's digital HBO Max, they still release week by week and goes on and goes on and goes on. But my gosh, let me tell you, if I had watched that first episode without the second episode as a follow-up, I probably wouldn't have carried on. And that's happened to me before. I'm sure if you recall, I have mentioned this as well. Game of Thrones did that to me. I remember watching the original episode and thinking, this is not that great. This is so boring, whatever. And then I think it was like a year and a half later, after everybody was raving about how good Game of Thrones was, we went back and then watched the first season in a binge. And that's because, in my personal opinion anyway, Game of Thrones has about a 3-episode. Like, you've got to watch those first 3, otherwise you're really going to lose interest because there was so much setup back in the day.
To me, that was Breaking Bad.
But you get what I'm saying, though.
Like
So there is an argument to be had on the show and its content.
Yeah.
In this kind of a situation where we're talking about Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones and now Mare of Easttown, these honestly are better suited to being binged. Specifically because Mare of Easttown is a whodunit, whereby there's stuff happening and you're like, who is it? What's going on? And if memory serves, episode 2 has a huge boom, boom, boom revelation right at the end before it ends, and you're like, we need to watch the next one, and then almost every episode thereafter had a little bit of we're gonna drop, and it just keeps you going. It keeps you wanting to watch.
See, so. That's where I would say the Apple thing maybe comes good in play.
I still don't like the Apple thing.
So neither do I, but I think they do the smart thing of dropping 1 or 2 episodes, or 2 or 3 episodes, for maybe the first episode is slow and then the second one is that hook.
Yeah.
Whereas HBO just one.
So
one.
There is another argument to be had, but the reason why, not HBO because HBO has a lot of content, but the reason why Apple and Disney are doing this is because they don't have much content since they're still so new.
Yeah.
Now, with that in mind, before I get derailed too far off of the Mare of Easttown that I'm speaking about, as I mentioned before, it is a whodunit, and if you come from a small town, namely like Benoni, Boksburg, Brakpan actually, you will very much relate to Mare of Easttown.
Okay, as a local, I'm automatically thinking the worst things of why you would relate. Not in terms of crime or whatever, but in terms of the kinds of people
Edward,
in the town.
You are spot on.
Okay.
This is exactly okay. So Mare of Easttown, it's the show about this woman called Mare, which is weirdly interesting.
Weird.
The title has a bit of like a double, because Mare of Easttown is like a mare, like a horse, because she's enigmatic, she's powerful, she's strong. But then again, that also relates to Mare, the character.
Named Mare.
Well, she has a full name. I've just forgotten what it is.
Mary or whatever.
Something like that. But Mare is her like nickname, right?
Okay.
And she is this detective in this tiny little town called Easttown. And everybody knows everybody. Everybody's in everybody's business.
I love that.
Everybody is like, there's incest, and there's, this is what I'm talking about. It's that small,
it's like a southern town.
It's that small town syndrome. Like we know, because we live in small towns. Everybody knows everybody. Nobody knows like one little thing happens to one person, the whole town knows already. So it's that kind of a situation that the whole show revolves around, and how Mare's life is messy. Her husband who left her now lives next door, for example. And she still lives.
You're making this sound very good.
No, it's excellent. It's a very, very good show. Okay. It's a very, very good show. Okay. I mean, I'm not saying this to say that it's bad. I'm saying this because the setting is so unique and unlike what you normally would see on television.
Yeah.
And this whole like small town incestuous feel it works really well in Mare of Easttown.
Okay.
And there's the reason why it all plays in together is because a lot of the youth in Easttown, they fall by the wayside. Even though they might be good at school, maybe they fall pregnant too young. And then because they fall pregnant, they need money, so then they turn to prostitution or to drugs, or so the town has a lot of issues like that.
It's a dark town.
It's like Brakpan, okay, or Springs. It's in South Africa. If you're listening to this from a South African perspective.
Sorry to judge you guys.
And there are a lot of intermingling storylines throughout. The main one of which is a murder mystery. But then, of course, it's also another mystery with girls who are going missing. And, of course, I'm not going to spoil it or anything. But the show does have very... moments. Where you're like, I didn't expect that. And also very Games of Thrones in the sense of they're not afraid to do away with
everyone's
characters.
conniving. And okay.
Look, it's a decent show. It keeps you guessing. It keeps you wanting to watch more. It's not perfect. There are a few moments where like you'll watch and you're like, that's a little OTT. But they're slight. They're slight. And honestly, Kate Winslet just does such a phenomenal role of keeping it all together. She's really just an incredible actress, and she alone, I mean, for her performance in this, it's well worth watching.
Yeah,
honestly,
cool. I haven't seen her in a recent project at all, so
I mean, I can't actually remember the last one that I saw her in. I mean, I know everybody knows from Rose from Titanic. She could have saved Jack. Okay, that's all we can say.
It's still very painful. Touchy subject.
A nice little throwback to, I think it was either last week or the previous week's episode, to check out that Titanic demo that we spoke about.
Yes, yeah, that VR demo thing.
That VR demo thing, it was really, really cool. Now, with games, for those of you who do follow, now, we generally tend to stay away from news very much on Gettle.
Mostly. But
this is not necessarily news. This is just like what were the biggest moments that Edward and I thought from E3 2021. So we're going to now go into some gaming discussion. Hey, Eduardo.
Yes, for a change.
We
don't have a lot of that anymore.
I mean, we've been doing a lot of reviews, I suppose.
Yeah.
But we haven't had a lot of actual... because...
Nothing's happening except for reviews.
No, it's not that. It's also only news. Like, I mean, if we talk about something, it's fleeting and it goes away.
Yeah.
This... Although technically news... Okay, for those of you who don't know, and for those of you who have been listening for a long time, you will know... Edward and I have moved away from being a news-based organization, whether on Famous or Gettle, to talking about things that we'd like to think are timeless. Now, although this E3 2021 wrap-up might not be timeless, the fact that these surprises happened is timeless.
Yes, I want to say the surprises are timeless.
The surprises are timeless. Of which my personal favorite was Avatar.
See, to me, I thought you would... Your personal favorite was the Jack Sparrow one.
Okay, wait. Okay, so the is it 5 or 6? 1, 2,
5. It's 5.
The 5 surprises, and we'll just I'm just going to label them quickly, and then we can talk through them. Right? Is the fact that that Ubisoft announced Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. And then, of course, there was Elden Ring.
Mm-hmm.
Then Jack Sparrow coming to Sea of Thieves. Then there was Metroid Dread. And lastly, Starfield from Bethesda.
Yeah.
Okay, so now with those in mind, for me, Avatar was the big one. And this was purely because of all of the other announcements, with the exception of... I mean, no, people knew that people assumed a Metroid was coming. Actually, I'd say, with the exception of Jack Sparrow, no one anticipated those two. No one saw a Sea of Thieves collaboration with Disney or an Avatar collaboration with Ubisoft in the works.
See, on the other end, it's sure no one expected those two, but the reason I think the other three are also big is because people didn't think they would get release dates for these. That people didn't think we would get more info, as much info as we did about the rest.
I suppose that's
because
true.
all of a sudden, like, we just got info dumps.
The Elden Ring one I can agree with, because I know that people have been going haywire online to know what this George R.R. Martin and
From Software
collaboration is all about.
Yeah.
So that one I get.
Yeah.
Like I get why, but we all knew that there was something Elden Ring related at some point would have come out. Do you know what I'm saying?
But we assumed like 2 years on at least. Anyway, it was to me, Elden Ring is the big one. Because obviously I'm Souls obsessed. Obsessed, yeah, that's the word.
I will admit, of the ones we've mentioned, the Metroid Dread one is the least one, the one that I'm least interested in.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, cool, surprise.
Like, not sorry, I'm not that big of a Nintendo fan.
Yeah, to be fair, that's the same.
Everybody went crazy about it, though.
Yeah, of course they were. Of course they were. Metroid is same as Iran, is classic.
Yes.
And she's legendary.
Yes.
But to me, she has the least...
gravitas.
There we go. Of the others. I'm not too big of a fan of the Jack Sparrow thing, but I know it made waves.
Well, the reason why it's cool is because as somebody who has thoroughly enjoyed Sea of Thieves in the past, the game sorely needs a good campaign. Yes, there are tall tales that can be done in that, but the overall gameplay is very challenging. It's not an easy game to play, especially when you have other pirates who come along and plunder your gold that you've worked hours for to try and get.
Like griefing you.
Griefing is still bad in Sea of Thieves. I must say, it's one thing that I like the least about it. Now, with this add-on, this Pirates of the Caribbean or Pirates Life, there we go. Yeah. Thank you. It's a actual full-on campaign story.
It's like an expansion type story.
Yes. Yeah. And that makes me very excited because Sea of Thieves itself, as a title, in terms of the way the game looks and the way it plays and the world, it needs this. It will thrive off this. It'll give it something that I feel it's been lacking since release.
Yeah.
You know, and I personally am quite excited to dive in. I know that it's already available.
Yeah, it's pretty much this week.
It was a week after it was announced.
So what I like about this announcement, as it's not up there for me, but what I do like about this Jack Sparrow thing is the fact that it shows that both Xbox and Disney are willing to work together.
You can say that.
That opens the floodgates to what we might see either in more Sea of Thieves or more other games.
But hold on. You're forgetting. Don't forget. There is an Indiana Jones partnership, and you know that studio.
I actually did forget.
Do you know that studio is an Xbox studio now? Hey,
isn't it IO?
Actually, I'm not sure. No, IO is a different one. The Indiana Jones one is being made by an Xbox exclusive studio, and now people are wondering, is it going?
Yes, I remember now.
And everyone's wondering, is it going to be an Xbox exclusive now?
Probably.
Well, not necessarily. We don't know, because I imagine Disney would want it to be cross-platform at the very least.
Well, let me put it this way: Starfield is an Xbox exclusive.
Yes, but Starfield's not Disney. So we'll speak about Starfield in a second. So what I mean by the Disney thing is, I do believe what you're saying about the collaboration could hold some weight.
Yeah.
Because maybe because of the talks they had with Indiana Jones, that could have led to Jack Sparrow and Sea of Thieves. And who knows, maybe this will lead to more Star Wars. No, sorry, hang on. Wait, sorry. It's the Mando game that's exclusive, not the listen, you know what? There's so much stuff happening, and I'm getting confused now.
We're getting confused.
There are 2 games at the moment from Disney that are being made.
Yes.
It's Indiana Jones, and there's also The Mandalorian. And my understanding is one of those is with IO.
Indiana Jones is with IO.
And then the other one, the Mando game, is by an Xbox exclusive studio. You see? Anyway, maybe we'll clarify that later stage. Or y'all can Google.
It's the thing is, so many stuff has happened, especially now. It's all at once.
Were you mentioning Starfield? I'm glad that you did. Yeah. There's been a lot of controversy around the release, the trailer that was shown. I understood it as being in-game footage because it literally says in-engine alpha footage.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what that means if that doesn't mean that that's the game.
It was shot in-game.
Now, there were a lot of people online who were like, Microsoft always does this and does that.
Yeah, it doesn't look like in-game footage.
And then, because it was really good, by the way.
It's
beautiful. Then, it just so happens that one of the artists who actually worked on it, on his profile, he mentioned how there was no cinematic tools used, and it's literal in-game footage.
It was literally
just with a cinematic camera
playing the game, and then someone recording, obviously screen capping it.
Correct.
And then just cut it so beautifully that it actually looked nice.
Yes. Anyway, so that's that.
Yeah.
That's what E3 2021 wrap up.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, look, while we're on games, Ed, you recently reviewed 2 of them.
Yeah.
Namely, Famicom Detective Club and Nier
Replicant version 1.2247.
Okay, give us the down low on these 2 titles and whether or not they were worth it.
Both of them are great.
Okay.
Yes. I'll begin with Famicom. It's an amazing title. I love visual novels. I played a good bit of the one before I even started the writing process. So it remakes and remasters the game from the 80s and also gives it an English localization. Now the voiceover work is not English at all. It's only Japanese, but then again, 90% of all visual novels are only Japanese anyway, no matter where you buy them from or how you play it.
Yeah, this is not exactly a anime
discussion. Yeah, it's not a dub. You're not going to get dubs for this one. Maybe Steins Gate one day, I hope. Anyway, so what it is it's 2 games that essentially put you in the shoes of a very young detective. Like the second game acts as a prequel, and you learn that he was 15 when all the events happened, and then the actual game takes place 3 years later. So he's 18 in the second game.
Yeah.
And they don't say what his age is in the first game, but I don't believe these cases take place long after each other. So you're very young. And the point is just to go about and solve some cases. The first one is called The Missing Heir, which is all about this, the Ayashiro family, if I recall correctly, of the mistress who died. Now the butler says he suspects foul play. And then the second one is The Girl Who Stands Behind. Now this basically tells the tale of how you as a protagonist became the detective working on the case, and it also has a lot of horror elements to it. Now none of the games have like jump scares because it's visual novels. It's a slow burn game. You're going to spend a good 10 to 15 hours on each, but it's amazing to see. Or rather, the writing especially is so well done. How it intertwines with the horror elements. How they attempt to capture the imagination. Very few books have been able to do this for me. And
see, that's so interesting to me. You know, when you say books, but it's obviously visual novel. So it's a interactive book, right? That
essentially, it's just got animated guys on the screen in very very basic ways with text on the screen, and then you read and you hear some Japanese and you read some more and you click and you read some more. That's what it is. It's great games. I won't say they're exceptional.
Okay.
Because Steins Gate. I've played better. Okay, I've played better visual novels.
Just putting it out there.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
And then secondly, I also reviewed Nier Replicant version 1.22417
Listen,
something.
I'm going to just throw this out before Edward even continues talking.
Yeah.
He threw in the most wonderful tidbit in his review about how that number actually resolves to 1.5, making the game Nier Replicant 1.5 versus it being a sequel or a prequel.
Yeah.
I love that.
The reason why I got to that little tidbit in the first place is because so it's marketed as a remake of the original game, which was Nier or Nier. I forgot. There were two versions of the original game. Okay, the one English audience got was just Nier, and this is a remake of that game, but it's not. It's a completely.
It's a remake plus extra.
Oh, if that, it's a completely new story with a completely new protagonist. Now it retains some of the story of the original one, but it's done in. I would say the closest alternative, the closest example would be the recent Final Fantasy VII remake, which was completely redone.
Oh, yes.
But also not, because it still has some of the same story. And then it has completely new story going into completely new stuff, new characters even. And then I went and said, okay, so what is this actually? And I found out on Reddit, thanks to some smart Reddit commenter, that 1.2 is the square root of 1.5. And that's just phenomenal, in my opinion. It's smart from the developers to do this. Anyway, the game it's great. It's a good game. It's a classic RPG. You won't find any brand new modern gameplay elements in this. It's not a modern RPG, so it's not like Persona or not like Final Fantasy. So it's old. You could feel it's a little bit dated. But they did not bring the combat back from the first game either. They actually asked I think it was Platinum, the developers of the second Nier game, Nier Automata, to help them with the combat in this one. Because Nier Automata is superior in each and every way. So they were like, please, can you just bring the games in line? And they tried. It's still very old. You can see it's dated. But it's such an amazing RPG. There's a reason why people revere the Nier games. I did not know this until I played a little bit of Automata. Now that I've played Replicant completely, I want to play Automata completely.
Oh.
So yeah, it's such a good
You're
game.
Now a fan.
I am a fan. Kind of like how Persona 4 might be a fan of Persona. Okay. Because I never got the hype. This might be a fan of Nier. Yeah.
Right. Now, before I break my iPad even
further... I got a little over there on my...
Edward, tell me.
Yes.
So, we're meat lovers, naturally.
Yes.
South Africans mostly are. If it's your choice not to be, for shame. But where I'm going with this is I see you found something about, and I quote, grilling the perfect steak.
Yes. So, let me tell you something.
Aha.
Did you know meat scientists is a thing?
Well, okay, hold on. I know that I would like to think that yes, because of cellular agriculture.
Okay, so...
Because we've spoken about eating ourselves and our own meat in the past, and you know that like cellular
not quite
agriculture...
ourselves, but yes.
Well, I wouldn't mind doing that either. But anyway...
Get all the bad bits.
So, okay, but I have to then assume that a cellular agricultural scientist would be different ever so slightly
to a meat scientist. Yeah, so meat scientists, they are devoted to how meat is produced, prepared, and preserved.
I love it.
That's basically just saying the brine.
No, it's not the same. Do you know what this is making me think of, right?
What?
So and I don't think we've mentioned it in Gettle yet, but I have been on a Wagyu beef binge for a while now. Mm-hmm. And I've ordered from like 4 or 5 different places to try and find the best Wagyu. And I think I have, but I'm going to save that for a future episode whereby...
A review.
I need to double check it because I've ordered I've ordered from multiple places, and this one specific place that I'm speaking about, I've had mixed results with their biltong, and it saddens me a little bit because they're also the best Wagyu biltong I've ever had. They might be
sourcing from different.
So this is the thing. I need to at least order one more time just to double check if the
for science.
Well, for science. But I want to see the consistency,
Yeah.
more than anything else before I recommend them. That's really what I'm getting at. Whereas the other ones that I've ordered from, I wouldn't recommend just purely from I've not tasted better Wagyu biltong and I know where the better one is. Also, not all Wagyu boerewors or Wagyu beef patties are made the same.
Of course not.
So I also know where to avoid and where to buy from, but I'll get to that in a future episode.
Well, in so saying, Hans, you might not recommend them, but they might still be some of the top in the country,
Oh, but so I don't want to give the names and stuff to the companies away, but like
pay us some bucks.
I bought Wagyu beef patties from two separate places.
Yeah.
Right, and these are the two that I can specifically remember. And the one was, it just melts. It just melted in your mouth. Anyone who's had Wagyu, specifically Kobe. Let me just get to the difference quickly in case somebody might not know. Wagyu is Japanese beef, and that can also mean the strain of Japanese beef. So, like, we have Wagyu cows in South Africa, and they obviously have been vetted by the Wagyu Council in Japan or whatever you see. All this relates to meat science. Anyway.
That's why I think this.
So Wagyu means Japanese beef, but specifically fatty Japanese beef. So they have those wonderful, beautiful striations within the meat, and when it goes on the tongue, it just melts, and it's so good. Now, Kobe beef, on the other hand, is Wagyu, but a uniquely specific strain, if you want to call it that, or genetic strain that is located only in the Kobe prefecture. And those cows are the ones that are fed like beer and
they are
massaged.
The upper echelon.
And let me tell you, Edward, when I traveled to Japan the year before last with my cousin, just thinking about it is making my mouth water.
Those are the ones you get the certificates for.
So you do get certification for normal Wagyu as well.
Oh, okay.
But Kobe Wagyu can only be had and bought and eaten in the Kobe prefecture.
See, I remember when my dad went to Japan, he bought the certificate back because he went for business, and in the meeting, they were all having Wagyu steak, and he got a literal certificate of the name of the cow he was eating. Or the cow. The cow he was eating, how old she was, what she's been fed her entire life, what music she's been listened to, like an in-depth ass certificate. I guess that's Kobe.
Listen. Yes, that's Kobe. That would be Kobe. Okay. So, I know there's this whole movement towards meat-free or ethical meat sourcing. And let me tell you, if you want to see an ethically treated cow, go to Kobe.
Yes, I've seen the videos.
Because
it's literally
they massage them, they feed them beer, they let them listen to certain music, as you were saying. That they are so well looked after. And for good reason, because when you've had Kobe beef, Edward, when you have had meat that literally melts on you, I kid you not, it melts on your tongue. Nothing compares.
And it melts on your tongue because it's fatty.
Yes.
And now let me tell you that flavor is mostly related to fat. Now, I didn't know this. No. I thought it's in the meat itself as well.
But that makes sense. Do you want to know why?
Why?
So I've always been a fan of fillet, right? And for years and years and years, my family always like, you must have rump or sirloin. They're tastier.
No.
But hold on.
Filet is superior.
But the thing is, I don't know if you've noticed, fillet doesn't really have a taste. But go and eat a rump, and you're eating a rump.
Yes.
Because it has and what's the difference? Rump has a thick layer of fat on the back.
Ooh. That's
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Because it just made me think about it. Okay, anyway, listen, y'all. Wagyu beef. The fattier it is.
You can try it,
I literally have a platinum rump Wagyu in the fridge, which I'm waiting to cook. I don't know why I haven't done it yet.
Over the weekend.
Oh, I'll see. Maybe I'll think about it.
Prepare yourself some platinum rump Wagyu. So yeah,
but that's super interesting.
Yeah.
So that would make sense as to why Wagyu's so revered, or
that's
Kobe.
exactly it, because the amount of marbling and composition of fatty acid subunits.
There we go.
That's directly what influences the raw potential flavor of a piece of meat.
You had the biltong that I bought the other day.
Yeah.
And what were your first impressions?
It was great. Like, I don't eat a lot of biltong, to be fair.
Okay.
But it was lovely.
But because I gave you the dry horse and I gave you the...
Yes.
Yeah. And
I prefer the biltong.
I know, but I still remember your expression when you ate the dry horse for the first time.
Oh, it was nice.
Edward was like, oh, this is lovely.
It was lovely.
Oh, this is so lovely. And I'm like, I'm so glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah. To be fair, it was very,
should
very
have saved your reaction for Geralt, but anyway.
Yeah, maybe you should have. Like, do some mukbang on camera here. And yeah, so what I found is the Smithsonian went and spoke to a bunch of meat scientists. It sounds so weird to say this. And what they found is, according to the meat scientists,
yes,
that their cooking meat accomplishes two things, obviously. So the heat of the grill breaks the fatty acids into smaller molecules that spur the aroma.
No wonder meat smells so good in the grill. Okay.
Yes. So obviously, aroma is half the taste.
Yes.
We all know this.
Oh, it's like 70% of of taste is smell.
So it's even more than.
Which is why y'all better stay away from COVID. Anyway.
Yes. If you can't smell something or taste... If you think you have COVID, just go eat some chili. Just do yourself a favor and eat some chili. The second is browning. Now that's basically how it looks.
Okay.
After you. Now it's actually a process called Maillard reaction.
The Maillard reaction.
Yes, that's what it's called. I guess a braai master somewhere in Australia.
Who knew?
Was named Maillard.
Maillard, yeah, it was all like.
Or maybe it was French. Maillard.
Maillard. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. Now, it is a process in which the amino acids and traces of sugars in the meat react at high temperatures. Now, I guess this is obvious. If you cook something, they react. Now, the most important of the molecules, however, are called pyridines and furans. Now, these contribute to the roasty, nutty flavors that steak aficionados.
Are you serious?
Yes, I did not know this.
Okay.
I went and Googled.
So
there are entire subreddits where people just
know what this sounds like? This sounds
steak.
As pretentious
It
as
sounds
wine
so
sommeliers, you know?
Yes.
Where they're all like, they're going around, they're like, oh, I smell plum and fig leaves. I'm like, it tastes like wine.
Yeah, it's wine. It's
I'm going to show you how uncultured I am.
Just let me drink it.
But you know what? I agree that things like this are real.
Of course.
Because like how I can taste certain notes in coffee.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Where some people can't.
Yes.
So yeah, each to your own.
Yeah.
Do you, boo?
If you have the mouth to realize the differences in your steak nuttiness, then I take my hats off to you.
Well, I would want somebody like that in my life to cook me the perfect steak.
Oh gosh.
Hey?
Now speaking of cooking, in order to cook them perfectly, according to these meat scientists, if you have a thin steak, they recommend cranking the grill like as hot as you can, but leaving the lid open.
Okay.
Now the reason for this is to sear both sides. Okay, but you have to take it off, or you have to flip it at about 70% of the cook.
But not judging the 70% is the issue.
That's where the experience comes in, because they can't tell you how it is. I've seen, with that said, I've seen people like have these prods that they put into the steak.
Do you know how amazing those? Do you know that you get Bluetooth enabled ones?
Can
you tell I've gone down the rabbit hole of cooking meat?
Yeah, apparently you're a budding meat scientist, Hans. Now, for the thicker steaks, it's exactly the opposite. You cook them at a moderate grill. But you can leave the lid closed in order to smoke it more.
Do you know why?
Why?
Because if you have it too hot, it'll actually burn the outside before it starts cooking.
Yes.
Okay. Anyway.
You see, doesn't know what a meat scientist is. He's a meat scientist.
Tell me you're a meat scientist without telling me you're a meat scientist.
Yeah. Now, just I'll move on in a second, but just a quick one that I also found. You know those ads that you get from steakhouses like Spur or whatever?
It looks amazing.
Where they have this thick ass steak on the grill with a flame everywhere. That will actually result in the worst possible steak ever.
Yeah, I can believe that.
Yeah. So what they actually do is they do cook them like that. at first, but they go through a second step in the process by just quickly throwing it on the grill.
Yeah, but you know what that is, though?
What?
It's purely for taste.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the flames, they get that flame grill taste,
Yeah.
and then they move it off to get cooked properly.
Quickly, yes. And then they cook them in an oven.
I don't know why I know these things, but I know these things.
Because meat scientists.
No. Well, yes. Also, there's the most phenomenal YouTube channel called Guga Foods.
Yeah.
I might link to them in the show notes. And if you want to go and see like the most incredible, I don't want to say meat scientist stuff, but the most incredible like concoctions with meat, like the things that they do, like he'll dry age a steak for like 100 days and then eat it. It's just
that sounds bad.
Yeah, it was. But
okay.
what I mean is like he does all of these really cool things to do with meat, and he talks about how they should be cooked and how they shouldn't, and he's a big fan of Wagyu. So yeah, anyway,
everything's done with
now
Wagyu.
Y'all know where my cravings came from and why
Makes
I had
sense.
to.
Like I started playing Dungeons
Okay,
and Dragons.
before we move on though, because we've been doing a lot of actual talking, and the whole point of this was grilling the perfect steak.
Yeah,
so,
just cooking.
So give us the quick crib notes version of, if it's a thin steak, it's just quick 70%, right?
Quick lid open.
Quick lid open.
Yes.
If it's a thicker steak,
1 point.
moderate heat and you can leave the cover on to make it smoky if you want.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I feel like I knew this though.
But
maybe for those of you who don't.
Like all the dads listening to this were like, of course.
Also, something I must note,
Yeah.
okay, is when you're busy cooking steak and that,
Yeah.
take it off well before it's done.
Yes.
Well before.
Yeah.
Because it will still continue cooking in the plate after you removed it from the grill.
Yeah, because the fats and the oils on the steak,
correct.
It stays hot.
So if you're cooking medium rare and you see it already at rare, take it off because it will cook to medium rare. If you want medium, cook it just as it goes past medium rare and take it off because it'll cook through to medium.
And if you cook it anything past that, you don't deserve
if you do anything past that, I don't know why you're eating meat. Just stop. Because
just have some bark.
Now, meat is amazing. Edward and I love meat. And we all know that meats are staples of family. Well, I don't want to say meat is a staple of a family, but the braaiing experience of a South African is a staple family tradition, right?
Suppose so.
I mean, it is. I mean, if you're South African and you don't braai, do you even South African?
I braai occasionally.
No, I mean, no, we have to braai, but people around us braai,
There
right?
okay,
and you
good.
go
That's
to
good
braai. It's
enough
like,
for me.
I don't braai. I have somebody
I
braai
braai
for
by
me.
affiliation.
Anyway, it's a family thing, and so this is going to lead me into a new movie that I watched called Nobody. Not to be confused with other films like Mr. Nobody, which I ended up calling the film initially.
See, I thought
and
that
it's
was
not.
one in the same.
No, it's not. It's a totally. The film is just called Nobody.
Okay.
Now, John Wick vibes. That's all I have to say. Like if you've enjoyed John Wick, the
unofficial sequel,
the B version. if you enjoy John Wick films, Keanu, badass, avenging his dog, specifically the first film, because I thought that the second and third were a bit weak, but specifically the first one, you will enjoy Nobody. So the film stars Ben Odenkirk from Breaking Bad, right? And also that lawyer series.
Saul.
Pretty cool.
Which is a Breaking Bad spin-off.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. He is fantastic in the role.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I never knew that Odenkirk had the acting. No, that sounds terrible, but I never pictured him in the role of an action hero.
The thing is, we all know him as a comedy actor.
Yes.
He started life as a stand-up, and
a little bit more serious in Breaking Bad.
Yes.
And in Better Call Saul, of course, but with some humor.
But even then, he was the humor guy.
Yes.
And I have not seen Nobody, to be fair, but it looks phenomenal. Like, he punches people through things.
Look, Nobody. It's a great film. So we went in knowing nothing about it, other than the fact that it's just some guy who is considered nobody, but is obviously not a nobody.
He's
all right?
slamming.
So we actually watched this after Tenet, which I'm going to get to later on in this thing, and the reason why is because I wasn't too enamored with that first film. So when we watched Nobody, it was like, whoa, this is so good.
Suddenly your expectations were like this.
Because like we were just like, ugh, it can't be any worse.
That explains. Okay, so you might be biased.
Hold on. Okay. So it's a great film. It's just about this man who seems to live a very ordinary life. And the film does such a great job of showcasing just how mundane and ordinary his life is. And you watch this and you're like, that's like my life. Which is already...
It's nobody.
It's everybody's.
Exactly.
And because it's everybody's, you're nobody. Because if you fit into the role of being of your normal 9 to 5, you don't do anything out of the ordinary, you're nothing really special, so therefore you're not memorable, it makes you a really good spy. Okay? Or hitman, or whatever it is you want to go with it. You must live an unassuming life.
Yeah.
Because if you draw attention to yourself and you are in this field of work, it's bad.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Anyway, so it's a great film because it starts off with like he's mundane, he's boring, normal, blah blah blah, but then they experience a home invasion, and during this home invasion, his son gets involved and gets hit by one of the criminals, and you can just see it in Odenkirk's face that he's like snapped and he's ready to just kill.
Like just over.
And he just stops and he pauses and he just tells his son to just stop, get back, whatever. And then naturally the criminals get away and then his son is upset with him. Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you fight? And everybody's like, you're a loser, And then of course the film progresses and eventually there's a scene where, there's actually multiple scenes where you realize this man is anything but a nobody. And he is as badass as they come. And the film does a wonderful job of revealing this slowly to you, but in such a great way of, oh shit, it's nobody. I don't want to like give it away, but the moment because the whole thing, he eventually gets embroiled in this thing with the Russian mafia. Naturally, of course, that's so typical of action films, right? The Russians. Anyway,
of course.
And when like people start finding out who he actually is, and the fact that they're involved, like these high-end criminals start freaking out and like backing away, like you can deal with this on your own. I'm not getting involved.
John Wick.
Yeah, very John Wick, And then of course the film does a great job of going through, explaining to us who he is and why he's so revered and blah blah blah. And then of course, as awesomely grounded as it begins, it does go very OTT, sort of midway towards the end, especially when the Russians finally do their final push, blah blah blah. But overall, yeah, it was a great action movie, and I don't often enjoy. I mean, no, I do enjoy action movies. What am I saying? I enjoy good movies.
You don't enjoy often mindless action.
Yes, yeah. Thank you. That's it. So like, I wouldn't enjoy Fast and the Furious because that's just like whatever. What's happening? And so, Nobody starts off in a very not a mindless way. Like it's intriguing. You want to know more. And then eventually sort of midway it leads you into the OTT aspect of it all. But by then I was really invested.
Yeah.
And I was happy to watch him kick ass.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how extreme or how unbelievable it was,
See, and now Nobody 2 and Nobody 3 will basically just be kick ass. Just like John Wick 1, 2 and 3.
Actually, you know what? I think you're right, because what I liked most about John Wick 1, actually, one was just a phenomenal action film.
Yep.
It was gritty. It was, I feel like down to earth is the right term, right? Then I actually enjoyed John Wick 2 as well, because John Wick 2 explored the concept of with the coins and him being that.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that. And then John Wick 3 just forgot all about that and just made it a generic action film, and that is what bothered me with number 3.
My big issue with 3 is that it had a cliffhanger ending with.
But you know there's going to be a 4 and probably a 5 as well.
It's already been greenlit.
Oh my gosh! Look, I want more of this like Illuminati aspect.
Yeah, just
society.
give me 1 and 2.
Like yes, like if they had pursued that for 3, I probably would be more invested in John Wick now. But as it stands, I'm a bit like, I mean, I'll watch it, but I mean, it's going very fast and the furious.
But now knowing that, what would you expect for number 2? Like going more into the background? Oh, so Nobody.
Yes. You mean Nobody? Like
more like. Obviously, I haven't seen it, but I assume they explain why he's this badass.
What I would like, if there was a Nobody 2, and that's actually a very great question, Edward. I would like more exploration, maybe even a prequel. How did he become the nobody that we know him to be in the first film?
Okay.
You know, or maybe, and this is a bit cliched, I suppose, but enemies from the past that come back, but then again, nobody comes back from dealing with Mr. Nobody.
He comes back. And then,
so Mr. Nobody is always present, but nobody he deals with ever comes back. So I can't say that there would be somebody else, but I would like to see his origins, maybe like an origin story.
That's dope.
Like how he got into that and what made him that way, and what did he have to do before he settled down to have a family, or rather, in retrospect, that's actually how they should have started it.
Maybe.
Before where they did start it, which is already him having retired, like John Wick had retired, or wanted to retire, whatever. Same gold bullion. Blah,
maybe
blah, blah.
we'll have a crossover one day.
Listen,
that's all I'm having in my head.
I would be up for the fact that nobody was part of that secret society on some level, or he knows of them, and maybe he has to hunt Wick. But then when he gets to Wick, finds out that Wick is actually out. Then they team up.
Ooh,
hey,
that'll be dope.
Okay, anyway,
John Wick 5 or Nobody 2.
Do you know who I would like to think needs a nobody in their life?
I think I do.
Who do you think?
Britney Spears.
My gosh, Edward, poor Britney.
Yeah.
So we have not really spoken about Britney on Gettle before. Like, we've alluded to her.
Yeah, we've said we like her stuff.
I mean, we want more of your content, Britney. Anyway.
Maybe after all this is done.
I don't... Okay. So,
yeah.
So, hashtag FreeBritney. And this is super important because for the last 13 years, 15 years, we've known that something's not quite right. You know, her appearances have been odd. Her residency in Las Vegas was great, but also a little bit strange. You know, she's actually disappeared, quite frankly, for the last 2 years, except for social media.
Yeah, she's been on Instagram, and that's it.
But even then, anyone who pays attention to her Instagram knows it's not her. Yeah. You can tell it's very carefully orchestrated. And we now understand why. So, Britney is petitioning her conservatorship. It's something she allegedly didn't know she could do, and I'm so glad she finally realizes that she can. It's very sad that nobody told her beforehand, and that she had to solely do all of the work on her own in order to get to this point. It's very, very sad. So what we're getting at is we will link to it, like we mostly always do in our show notes, to her recent testimony where she appeals to the judge. It's about 23 minutes long. And she just drops bomb after bomb after bomb about how she's been treated, how she's been abused, how she's been unfairly and overly medicated, how her father is an absolute trash bag of a human being and how he has orchestrated almost all of this, how the rest of her family have been nowhere around at all to support her or help her out of the situation, and how her, as a 39 nearly, and she will be 40 towards the end of this year as far as I understand, lady has lost almost 15 years of her life to other people controlling everything she can do. And when I say everything, I mean, I was appalled to hear how they would even refuse her going to the doctor to take out her UID because she wants to have another child. And they point blank said no. They're not happy with it. Her management doesn't want her to have more children. It's just disgusting. How do you have that much control over someone who, I might add, this testimony completely reveals to be someone who is 100% lucid, clear of thought, and is more than able to look after herself, which therefore begs the question, why on earth is there a conservatorship?
I mean, she even says how one of the points that will allow you to lose your conservatorship is to be sober and drug-free. She says she's taken multiple drug tests, all of them proving how she is drug-free, and yet no one allows her to use those as evidence going forward. And she asks, well, one of the points in her testimony is how she asks the judge whether she can do it without going for these tests anymore, because she's gone for them and she's continually being denied.
Yeah, so what she wants to do is she wants to end the conservatorship without needing to prove that she's, like as Edward has said, drug-free, alcohol-free, and so on and so forth. Because she's done it enough.
Yes. It's been done so many times, and they just refuse to see the evidence at hand.
Look, it's. I'm a fan of Britney Spears. I have listened to her music ever since I was a small kid. I mean, Hit Me Baby, everybody loved Hit Me Baby, and then I have just been a fan through all of her albums. I've even seen her live, probably one of the best shows that I've ever been to. And, you know, people can say what they want about her not singing live, and that I know I was there. I watched her sing live, at least for one or two of the songs. She was an incredible performer at the time. I mean, this was years ago, of course. And, you know, if you look at her career and you look at what she's done and you look at where she is, I mean, she is quite a bit older than me, but if I think about me having missed 15 years of my life at my current age, that's just, it's deplorable. I mean, how can you do that to someone, you know? And I'm so glad that the judge allowed this phone call or the Skype in or whatever it was because of the pandemic to be broadcast, because it's the first time, I would say, in 15 years that Britney Spears has been able to actually say how she feels and what's on her mind. And bear in mind, I mean, if you go back 13 years, I mean, she's 39, right? So that would make her, what, 26?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, Edward. From 26 to 39, you have no free will.
It's bad.
I mean, that's your life. That's your prime. It's sad.
Why was she put into one in the first place?
So
is it under the guise of bipolar?
It all started way back when she was with Federline, remember? And then remember she shaved her head. She had that like breakdown. Whatever.
Oh, okay.
Now the thing is, we don't know why that happened. It could very well have been orchestrated behind the scenes where they made her feel that way.
That's what she made her sound like.
Yes, yeah. She, like, a lot of the things she says about how, like, at the moment she's sent to some facility which is so public that everybody can see her. The paparazzi know she's there, and she's forced to particularly go there. And what's so gross about that is, you know, that that her saying it's purposefully done is not a conspiracy theory, because if I was a celebrity and I was being treated, damn right would I want to do it in the privacy of either my own home or somewhere away from where people can't see.
Exactly.
But she has no choice, you know, and so the fact that she has to do it there means that the people can get shots, therefore it goes into the tabloids, therefore she's always in people's minds. Yep. And, you know, and then also tabloids pay for the you know, it's just the disgusting industry which unfortunately is being perpetuated by her management and her father.
Yeah. And
she just lays it all out, and I'm like, you know what? It's about damn time. And as far as I'm concerned, any judge that goes against this is part of the abuse.
Yeah.
It's really that simple. Anyway, we will link to it after this whole intense Free Britney.
Just giving our 2 cents on
it. Something that is a little less intense, and I'm just switching things around now, is Tenet. The sci-fi futuristic film from Christopher Nolan, Timey-wimey. Oh, Ed, I had such high hopes for this film. You know, coming off the back of Inception and Interstellar, of which the latter is just one of the most phenomenal movies, I was genuinely excited to watch Tenet. And I was severely disappointed. Now, that's not to say that Robert Pattinson, for example, wasn't great in the film, because he really was. But I actually didn't enjoy the protagonist. I felt he was very, in my personal opinion, ill-suited to the role. Like, his personality and the way he spoke, and that it didn't seem to fit. You know, much like James Bond has a way. You know, he's very suave because of he's in that industry or whatever. This guy just felt so at odds with even Pattinson's character, actually, you know, who was also in the very similar industry. Anyway, it just felt, to me, there was a bit of a disconnect there. I do think he did a decent enough job. I mean, given the parts of the script you could hear.
Yeah.
Because another big issue with the film is you cannot hear what people are saying 90% of the time.
Stupid.
Now, I did a little bit more research into that, because I was like, is it just us? You know, what happens if we put subtitles on? And you won't believe it. For some of the subtitles, it just says inaudible. And you're just like, but they're literally
that
talking
means
about...
It's deliberate.
It's deliberate. So the sound design in Tenet is deliberate. And I personally feel that takes a lot away from the film. Because the film is unnecessarily complicated. It deals with time, but not in the way that you would think of time. So, we know of time travel in the traditional sense of you either go back in time, you go forward in time, right? And then it happens or it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And it's done. Tenet deals with time in reverse at the same time as time is going forward.
Okay.
I know that sounds really strange.
It sounds very strange.
But that is how the film works, meaning that as something is happening going forward, it's actually already happened in reverse, but now you watch it happening in reverse.
What?
Yes. I know.
What? Yes. Okay.
No. Yeah. I know this sounds absolutely like bonkers, but this is how Tenet works. So, the film does a average job of explaining what's going on. So, like, there's this one good scene where he walks into this shooting range, and it's in the trailer, and he picks up the gun and he shoots a bullet. But it's explained that what he's touching is inverse, meaning that what he's touching is actually it's already happened in the past. So when he tries to pick up the gun initially, he's not able to. So he has to think about how he's already dropped the gun for him to be able to pick the gun up. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Okay.
And then when he fires the gun, he can't think about shooting. He's going to think about how he's already fired it. Otherwise the gun won't work. So it's an interesting concept. It's a good concept.
That's why the trailer says, "Oh, you're not firing, you're catching."
Yes. And so in the movie they call it inversion. So items that are inverted are consistently in a state of backwards movement in forward time.
Okay.
So in other words, let's say this mug that I'm holding here is inverted.
Yes.
It is currently moving backwards in our forward time, meaning that me putting it down like that is actually me picking it up, but I picked it up already in the past, and now as the future is moving forward, I'm putting it down.
So you have to think of putting it down.
In a way, yes. It's quite complicated.
What it holds?
It's the same thing.
Okay, so you have to think of puking.
It's very unnecessarily complicated. All right, and what further complicates matters is how, because you cannot hear a lot of what they're trying to explain, you end up going through the movie just assuming what's going on, and that to me does the film the greatest disservice, because the moments where they have that exposition where things are being explained, you're like, whoa, that's amazing.
Wait a minute. Something just occurred to me.
Yes.
Play the inaudible bits
backwards.
No,
there are moments where you can hear the audio is going backwards. But I'm talking about moments...
No, but I think it's deliberate design, obviously. And even though there are moments that you can hear backwards, the inaudible bits might be the moments that you must think yourself to listen to it backwards.
No, but if you can't hear it
even
at all...
more deliberate.
But if you can't hear it at all...
Maybe you would.
No, you can't hear it. What I'm saying is you actually can't hear it. Like the booming, or like they'll be walking through a hall and there'll be like massive machinery noises and you can barely hear the people talking, but you can hear they're speaking in like forward, like normal, like the way we're speaking. Okay. It's not like
no,
okay,
I know,
it's like,
but maybe there's some
actually
shit hidden
while
there.
We're speaking about that, I'm just gonna admit this on the podcast as well. My gamer tag is my name backwards because I had a big thing of saying people's names backward in high school. I know I was a weirdo. Like my friend Enyo Wallow, and because his name was Wayne Holloway, and I was Snartapau for Hans Haupt.
Tapau.
It was actually Tapua.
Snartapau. It shouldn't be Snarty5 then. It should be Snartapau.
Yeah, I know, but now it would just do Snatty5, you know.
Okay, that's okay.
Edward. Anyway, so the film itself is also incredibly boring as a result because it's long. It is like 2.5 hours, and it takes an hour and a half to get to the timey-wimey stuff. And that would be fine if you could hear all the explanation within the first hour and a half of the film. But given that by the time things start going backwards while going forwards, you're a bit like, what the F is going on? Because...
See, I really want to watch this film, but...
Yeah. I actually want you to watch it because, look, I think the concept is very good. I like what they were trying to do. I just feel it wasn't as well done as it could have been, and I do feel that the casting and some of the motives of the protagonist were a little cliched. So, you know, there's this point where the protagonist doesn't want to hurt anybody, and you find you're a bit like, okay, cool, you know, that's very novel, good for you, you know, whatever. But then at the same time, he goes on about how you got to do things for the greater good, and letting this Russian oligarch get all of these things in place will literally cause the end of the world. All right.
Okay.
So then you're just like, okay, well, one life for everybody is fine. Sorry to say. Okay. Maybe some people would disagree with that, but I'm like, it's one person. And then there's this whole like love story arc where he tries his best not to have this person die, and you're just like, why? Just let her die and save the thing. Like,
for the greater good.
Ugh. Anyway, you know what I mean? Maybe I'm just too pragmatic about it. Like, maybe if it was like a whole jetliner of people, you know, you wouldn't maybe try and not get them killed or whatever. But this was literally one person, and then the film then changes gears to he obviously cares for her, so he doesn't want anything to happen to her. And it's just so cliched for this very high-minded science fiction film that it felt out of place. That's what I'm getting at. It just felt so like, why would this person do that? You know? Anyway, with that said, there are some really wonderful moments, just like there were in Inception and Interstellar, where things eventually happen, because the movie basically plays forward before playing in reverse. I know it's really weird to say that, but it kind of does. Okay. And when those moments line up, you're like, whoa, that's amazing.
Suddenly,
you know,
makes sense.
like, oh, that's cool. But not enough. I felt that first hour and a half was just so much useless exposition for what was actually not even an okay action film for the rest of the way.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Tenet. Now, speaking about the end of the world, you know, okay, in this circumstance in Tenet, it wasn't actually to do with. It was to do with, not to do with like post-apocalypse.
Yeah.
But Edward, you found something to do with the oceans of the world?
The oceans, yes, I did. So, how many oceans are there, Hans?
11. I don't know. I think there's...
And 12 and 13.
4, isn't there?
It used to be 4, yes. So, for the longest time, especially in school, when you took... I don't even know what the English term is for it, but...
Geography.
Yeah, I guess.
What else would you do?
We used to call it NSFW.
I don't know what that is.
Menskaplike wetenskappe.
Oh, I don't know what that is. Wow.
In Afrikaans. And we were taught that there were 4 oceans. It was the Atlantic, Pacific, Indian, and the Arctic.
Yeah.
So no, it turns out now, not now.
There's a 5th?
There is now a 5th.
What's the 5th?
The Southern Ocean.
What?
Yeah, so apparently it turns out that there is so much ocean down there around the Antarctica regions that it's worth splitting it up.
Okay, but where's the Arctic then? The top?
The Arctic is, as far as I know, the North Pole is Arctic.
Okay, yeah. So the Arctic Ocean is the North Pole, and now they're just making
a southern.
Yes. Oh gosh.
But to be fair, it's been called different things across the years. But for about 2 decades now, it's been referred to as the Southern Ocean by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration for 2 decades now. But that's only American. So because internationally no one could make sense of it, everyone kept arguing about it.
Yeah.
Finally, it's made international now that the National Geographic, the company and the organization, they make it. The maps they make are factual international.
Oh.
So now that they recognize that on
the
their
South
map
Sea
as the Southern Ocean.
Oh, Southern Ocean.
Yes.
Okay.
Now it's official. It's on 8th June they announced it as being official. We finally have a fifth ocean.
Okay.
And obviously it's just taking a bit of everything.
Look, I'm curious now. So,
yeah,
is this because of global warming?
As far as I know, no.
But could it?
It
maybe?
could, but I think maybe factors would come into it because it's
okay.
The idea of creating the ocean or well at least
splitting it up, yeah,
is all about how dense or how much ocean there is in that region. So because the Antarctica is just one big ass island, there's a lot of ocean
around it. Yeah.
Yes. So
actually, I like this because otherwise, without designating that area as an ocean, then technically things like the Pacific and Indian and all of that would all go into it.
Yeah.
So I suppose, I mean, given how we have the Arctic Ocean,
yeah,
right?
And that's actually
yeah. So this actually makes sense to me.
To me, it does.
Yeah, this makes sense.
I was surprised when I read this and found this out, but I thought
you know what this makes me think of?
What?
This makes me think of the whole Pluto as a planet. Pluto is not a planet.
Yes.
Okay,
it literally
that
does.
bitch is a planet. Okay, as far as anybody else is
concerned.
concerned.
That bitch is a match relay. Okay, look, we just need to tap into it. It's just phenomenal news. I think that we now need to replace every single little handbook out there and guidebook out there with a fifth.
Well, I thought that maybe you were going to talk to me about they were fishing something out of the Arctic ice or something.
No,
unfortunately because like we need another virus.
Yeah, right.
Which leads me to Netflix's Sweet Tooth.
Oh, okay.
So
yes.
Sweet Tooth on Netflix. As far as I understand, it's based on a graphic novel of the same name. I went into the show knowing nothing about it, and I enjoyed it somewhat.
Okay. It sounds crap, to be fair.
I wouldn't say it's the best. Look, okay. Let me offer a bit of an explainer before we get into it. It is very much a children's series. What I mean by that is it has very high production values, all right? And, the acting is generally very good.
But it's PG-13.
But it's PG-13, and there are a lot of moments where you watch and you're like, that was thrown in to entertain children, not to further the story or to be good for adults to watch.
Very much a Cartoon Network kind of, and a Nickelodeon kind of thing.
For a great example is there's this one scene where the main characters, I'll tell you the names, I won't tell you the context, I suppose, but it's Sweet Tooth is the main character.
Okay.
Whose name is Gus as well. And then there's Bear and Big Man.
It sounds like a Nickelodeon.
Yeah, I know, you're already hearing the names. So there's this piece where they're running to try and get on a train. Both Bear and Gus are on the train, and now it's just Big Man's turn. And he's running, and you see him jump. And then both Bear and Gus scream like, no.
Okay.
And then they're still like half screaming, and then they just stop screaming. And then it's all quiet, and then obviously the camera is down, and then all of a sudden his hand comes up, and you're like, okay, how is that possible on a moving train?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not gonna get into.
They take leaps.
Yes, there's a lot of
logical.
There's a lot of things like that, which it's very obvious. It's geared towards being entertaining for children, and let me not be like, I'm an adult now, so obviously something like that is not going to appeal to me. But what I will say is, if you have children, it's a good show to watch, because PG-13 sure enough, but it'll be very enjoyable for them, and it's enjoyable enough for you as an adult to follow along this post-apocalyptic story of. Okay, so let me actually tell you.
I was about to ask, where is the virus coming in?
So it's a post-apocalyptic story about the H5G9 virus, which I know it's very coronavirus pandemic thing.
It sounds like a big. Is it a big virus? Is that what it's called? H1N1.
Oh yes. It does sound like it, right? Anyway, so this virus comes out of the blue, comes out of nowhere. They do eventually reveal the origins, and at the same time, the virus appears, which is deadly. And the way that it you've got it is you feel ill, but then you know that you've got that particular one. You're probably going to die. is when your left pinky starts shaking.
What?
So that's like the telltale sign that you have the H5G9 virus. Anyway, at the same time this virus appears, so do human hybrids, meaning that people are giving birth to children who have animal parts. You know, whether it's a little girl with a piggy nose and ears, or a little boy with buffalo legs and tail with nose. Hybrid children,
but like proper
are being
halves.
Not half, but like
just
parts of them are different.
Okay.
And you can clearly tell that that's a hybrid.
Okay.
All right. And as is human nature, and I suppose this is a very sad part of the film, the hybrids. So people, obviously, like, you know, like how we have people who are COVID deniers and people who don't want to get vaccinated, and you know the right-wing movements and blah, blah, blah. There's a very similar echo of that in Sweet Tooth, whereby people then are like, did the hybrids bring the virus? Or are hybrids because of the virus?
Okay.
Either way, hybrids become shunted in society. Mm-hmm. So people who have them, given them away for adoption, don't want them. And it's sad, really, in a way, because just because they're a hybrid doesn't mean that they're not human on some level. Do you know what I mean?
They don't have
know?
rights. And
I mean, they can still, if taught, they grow up like children. They have emotions. They're children with some animal elements, basically.
They can speak English
if they're taught. So this is the sad part of the film, the TV show, where you realize that many of them have been dejected and thrown out of society, and then they actually grow up like wild animals. Because the parents don't want them. And then what ends up happening is there's this group called the Last Men. And they basically go out and exterminate all hybrids because they're under the impression that hybrids are the cause of the H5G9 virus.
That sounds like a right-wing, like a tongue-in-cheek take on right-wing.
It is very much. I would say so. Look, so the story is engaging. It is very good and very high-minded. You know, like, I know I'm telling you it's a kids show, but when you listen to what I'm telling you from a story perspective, it's good. It's very good.
Yeah.
It's just that when they go through revealing all of these things, it's a kids show. So yes, there's a high-minded narrative, and yes, it's a very good narrative, and you want to know what's going on and how it was developed and so on and so forth. It then comes down to the childlike acting and scenarios to get that across. You see?
Maybe that's the hybrid nature of it.
Oh, I suppose that's a good way of thinking about it.
It's very experimental narrative, though. So
I wouldn't say look, it is good. You know, it's by no means bad. Yeah. It's just not exceptional in any way. Not to me, anyway. More because I'm an adult. I want more grit. I want not necessarily swearing and not nudity. I'm just talking about give me hardcore, like story. Like a lot of the times watching this, I had The Last of Us vibes. Yeah. Because, you know, the society has fallen. They call it the Great Crumble, you know. And in this film, Sweet Tooth or Gus, his father brought him up to, like human, but he's obviously not, you know. And the kid does irritate me a little bit because he's so naive about everything that you're just like, ugh. You know?
But he's the viewer.
No, I don't know.
The child viewer.
Yes, he's the child viewer. Yes, yeah, correct. Look, it's a decent show. If what I've mentioned now seems somewhat interesting, give it a go. Watch an episode or two, see how you fare, and maybe you'll enjoy it. As much as finding ocean eggs in customs. I mean, dinosaur eggs in
ocean
customs.
Eggs.
I mean, I have like ocean and like the virus and everything.
Imagine that. Yeah, good segue. I didn't expect that one. So, dinosaur science. They found a fully preserved dinosaur egg.
I'm like coughing I'm choking on my ginger tea here because this is amazing.
Preserved dinosaur egg.
What do you mean fully preserved? Like it still has the yolk?
Well, they haven't broken it open. But it
probably isn't. But
it wasn't a damaged egg.
But could they get some DNA?
Well, we don't know. It's going into the museum. Just to temper your expectations right from the get-go.
Look, if it's fossilized, they can't do anything.
Yeah. Okay, So, what made the news about this one is that it came from a mundane ass search. Just let's check that package out. Today, It contained an egg.
Just like that.
Wrapped up in bubble wrap.
What kind of bitches are smuggling
Sending
dinosaur eggs
away?
What are you doing?
Yeah, so this egg, it originated from Malaysia.
Oh,
But
of course it did.
but they think it might have come from China before that and just
Again,
rooted through.
I'm not shocked.
Yes, but they also think this is an egg for
Yes.
the Shunosaurus species,
Okay.
which literally means a shoe lizard. That's the translation, and it's basically I had to look this up. It's a dinosaur that lived approximately 159 plus minus 2, I don't know what that means, million years ago. Okay. It's a medium-sized dinosaur with a very long neck, very small brain for its size, and 2 spikes on its tail.
Okay.
So I would say the
Stegosaurus-y.
the images I found was very Stegosaurus-y,
Okay.
but with spikes and tiny nub on its head.
Okay.
Basically snake-like almost.
Okay.
It was accompanied by a certificate of origin, which was entirely fake. So someone bought this egg from some shady-ass organization which doesn't exist, and they couldn't track it. They couldn't track the sender at all.
Okay.
But they tracked the recipient, who said, "No, it wasn't me."
Oh, come on.
And because he said that, it's going straight into the museum.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
So nobody can lay claim to it or anything.
Literally no.
Okay.
So
well, I mean, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm a bit disappointed that I'm not going to be getting some dino zoo out of this. But
you spoke about some Illuminati organizations a few minutes ago. I bet you someone's gonna
oh gosh,
check this egg out.
I
No.
mean-
To be fair, it's a big egg as well. It's about 5 inches in diameter, so it's about this. And they found it with sediment on it around one of it, but they don't know what the sediment.
So you mean they
is.
can't track it back?
They can't.
Why?
They only know the trace route it came from. They can't track it to
What
the
a pity,
origin.
because it would be so wonderful if they could do that. Because maybe there's some
new dinosaur.
some archaeological site
Yes.
that maybe somebody's just trashing and they're losing a lot of the
somewhere
the
in
history.
China or Malaysia. Yeah.
Oh, this is so typical of nations that just don't care
Yep.
and only have expansion on the mind and don't care about the environment.
Like someone got money for this.
Yeah.
Lots of money probably.
Yeah.
And they don't know where it went. And the recipient, I don't know if they're investigating the guy or the people, but it's literally just, oh no, we didn't know, dude. So the state just said, well, then it's ours.
Well, of course. I
So-
mean, oh, it's not yours? Oh, you're not accepting it?
Yeah, well, then it's going
normally
to
we would
the
destroy
museum,
these
bitch.
things, but hey, it's an archaeological find. So.
Yes. So now it sits in a museum somewhere in, I believe it's
Italy, isn't it?
It's Italy, yeah. Bergamo.
Wow.
I thought you would
How
find this
crazy.
interesting.
How crazy.
Literal eggs just in post.
Oh my god.
Imagine that. And I found that super interesting for you to.
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think it's really, really
That
cool.
means there are eggs out there. Hans.
Oh,
You can
but,
find the
I
one
mean-
in your backyard.
Oh, I don't know so much about that.
And
but
send them in through the post.
I mean, I'm sure there are eggs that could be fertilized at some point in time.
Oh, of course.
NSFW.
Of course. Now tell me, Hans.
Hey,
What?
Edward.
Yes.
Listen. Apparently, okay, according to a sexpert, much like we didn't know. Okay, no, we knew that they're sexperts.
Yeah,
okay,
that's what they're
this
called.
is nothing new. Let's not joke about this. Dr. Emily Morse, and I find it absolutely hilarious that her surname
Amazing
is Morse,
surname,
like Morse
yes.
code.
Yeah.
And we're getting into why.
Okay, I was thinking morsel, but okay.
Oh well, okay. Well, I don't know what she looks like, so I can't tell you.
Sorry, Emily, if you're listening.
Apparently, Edward.
Yeah.
There are 4 words to great sex.
Oh, 4 words to great.
No, those are not the 4 words. I mean, I can't imagine you going to Marion and being like, 4 words to great sex, babe. And she's like, huh? What? No. Okay, so apparently there are 4 words that will make any wonderfully sexual encounter even better than it normally would be.
I
Now,
can think of a few.
This is where I want to go.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Edward.
Yeah.
Do you know what those 4 words could be? And
Not
actually,
those-
before you answer,
Yeah.
hold on.
Yeah.
our dear listeners, I would love for you to the first 4 words that come to your mind.
Okay.
To write them either under our video or DM us or tweet. Just please let me know what you think those 4 words are right now before I actually tell you what they are, because I'm also going to discuss a few fun favorites with Edward.
Well, let me give you my 4 words,
yes,
okay?
Yes.
It's gaming, entertainment, technology, and lifestyle.
Oh my gosh, that was so good. I was not expecting that at all. Oh my god, okay. You just made my day. You just made my day. Oh my gosh, that's so good. I can't believe I didn't think about that. Get all y'all.
See, I made your day, but did I make your...
You made Grace.
Good.
They were just whispering. Make me frisson down my neck. Gaming, entertainment, technology, and lifestyle. Whew, it's getting a bit hot now. I think we should turn off the cameras.
Yeah.
Okay, so
what are those words?
No, before we get there, though, what are other than those 4 absolutely ingenious words?
Yeah.
Which is still just so good. I can't get over it. What other 4 words would you like? If someone, what would you like somebody to tell you in your ear while you're doing whatever to like really make you feel good or whatever? Because there was one you tweeted about, and I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, so I tweeted, "There is coffee downstairs," okay, which you were like, "No, it should be in the bedroom. There is coffee."
No, it'd be like, "Here is your coffee."
Yeah,
I mean, because listen, if somebody came into my room and was like, "Here's your coffee," I'd be like, "Let's go."
No, then I would be like, "Give me the coffee." See, there's coffee downstairs. Number 1, invites them to a new scenario, like possibly utensils and counters involved. Okay?
No, it's more like, come in for coffee.
Oh, that as well, I guess.
Want some good coffee?
Or another one, I bought you nuggets.
I bought you
some nuggets.
Oh gosh, that. Oh, hold on. Okay. Jurassic Park is real.
But
Jurassic Park is 2 words though, so it doesn't work.
Listen, the day the government comes out and say we're opening Jurassic Park,
I'm gonna Platz everywhere all the time. I'm just gonna be like, Edward, I'm sorry, I gotta go.
Yeah, like
I'm gonna be away for the day.
And it'll be like all sluggy.
All right. There's so many fun, wonderful things we could have with this. You know, like oh, it's so big.
Okay.
You're right.
Yeah.
You smell really good.
That's a good one. I dig that.
I love your taste.
That comes after, but okay.
No, but these are all like during, you know what I mean? Anyway.
Let me think.
One of the other ones I was thinking of was like, I have a Charizard.
Oh, one. That tickles my taste buds.
Okay. Is a taste buds 1 word? 2 words?
As far as I know, it's 1 word.
Okay.
I think it's 1 word.
Okay. So these 4 words, according to Dr. Emily Morse, and the reason why I thought Morse was so curious because, you know, Morse code and like there's 4 things like boop, 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 boop. Anyway. She is a doctor of human sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
And we have spoken about this before, and it's all about communication in the bedroom. It's all about understanding your partner, talking to your partner, and finding out, is this really what they're like? So those 4 words are, do you like this?
Okay.
Yeah,
I think that.
That's it, really. So you go and you're doing whatever you're doing, you're like, do you like this?
And she's like, yeah. Nah. Is it yeah or nah?
Oh, this is about yeah. You know yeah near. You know that's a South African thing, right?
Yeah
near.
Yeah.
Do you know that the Australians go yeah near? No, they go yeah nah.
Yeah nah, mate.
Yeah nah,
yeah.
mate. Yeah.
Yeah nah.
So they do it as well, because like English people aren't like yes no.
Yeah.
We're just like yeah no.
No. South African English is yeah no.
Okay. Anyway, back to do you like this? That's really it. It's just about checking in with your partner, making sure that they are actively engaged, that they are happy, that what you're doing is right, because communication is key. And also, there is nothing wrong with improving your technique. And the only way to improve is by asking, is this good? Do you like this? How can I be better?
But obviously,
teach me, young Padawan.
I'm getting like Anakin vibes. Well, the headline that you're going to link to is it can lead to more pleasure. Now, obviously, when you ask, like, is
but that's the whole point. Yeah,
it can lead, but also it can lead to a lot of displeasure as well.
Well, like, it's more along the lines of if you don't ask, how could you ever know?
That as well. Yeah.
So, like, what the whole point is,
the
is
results
like,
speak for
if you don't ask and you think you did a bang up job, and then she's telling her friends it was the worst sex of her life, it's because you weren't like,
life.
Because look, I understand what you're saying. Nobody wants to be dejected.
Yes.
Nobody wants her to be like, well, actually.
But that's how you learn.
But that's it.
And it is a learning experience.
As long as she's not like, oh, it's too small. You know what I mean?
Wow.
No, but anybody who does that, you cut them out of your life and you say goodbye.
Yeah.
Because they're not worth having
like,
around.
That's bad.
But you get what I'm saying, though.
Unless you like the kind of thing.
What, to be diminished?
Yeah.
No, nobody
like
wants
BDSM
to be abused.
And shit.
People
like.
Okay, if you want that, go and be a subordinate. What is it? A submissive. Anyway. Now, this leads on to the next topic.
Yes.
Which is how there is a slight correlation between sexism and people who consume pornography.
Okay.
There is a lot here that I don't really want to read.
I saw you posted a lot.
I'm going to just give you the gist of it because it's not necessarily needed that I have to read about all of this. But do you want to know why? Do you want to know why?
Yes.
Because after adding this together and then actually going and reading a little bit more about it, it turns out that what they have mentioned here is very anecdotal. There's no confirmed bias. So what they say is people who are more inclined to consume pornography are somewhat less sexist. In other words, their ideals and views in particular on women are not as sexist as somebody who does consume.
But that makes sense.
Well, I mean,
because to me it means your mind is open to like exploring and stuff, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Well, you see, it's very nuanced because you do get people who want to see that and then watch pornography because they want to feel that they're in control. Do you see what I mean? So if you really read into this, because I mean, I was reading the study and I was like, what about this? What about that? And I'm really glad that eventually they actually were like, well, actually, you know, and then they started addressing the issues that I was really thinking about. And, one of those was how there's no real correlation. There's only a very slight uptick in the fact that the people that they interviewed who are active watchers of pornography have a somewhat ever so slightly less sexist view on women in general. In the sense of like, when they ask certain questions like, do you believe a woman should be in the kitchen?
Yeah.
They found, and again, it's not conclusive and it's not anecdotal. They just found little things like how somebody who did watch a lot would often say, no, not really. Yeah. But then somebody who didn't watch would be like, yes, I do.
More conservative.
But then that begs the question of, people with religious beliefs might not consume pornography, for example.
Yeah.
So then, was that addressed or not? And they actually do say that that's one of the caveats of the research because they don't take that into consideration.
With that said, people with religious beliefs might also be more sexist anyway. And not consume.
But that's what I'm getting at. So it's also lifestyle and the way you're brought up. Versus,
I get.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah,
so they literally say the study doesn't take into consideration. I was like, well, then it's flawed. You can't be giving us
until we get a conclusive.
You can't be giving us a link between these two things if you're cutting out so much.
Well, what this is, it opens the door.
Look, okay. Just further expanding on it,
yeah.
There's another few caveats as well. So again, it's solely US based. So the audience that was tested or whatever was only US. So therefore, it cannot be applied to any other audience other than an American audience.
Yeah.
Right. So that again decreases the validity of the study.
Yeah.
Now, with all of that said, it is somewhat interesting, however, that even though the study is flawed in so many ways, that despite all of this, that there was even just a slight uptick in the fact that people who do consume are somewhat less sexist. Even if it's just a small, little bit.
That gives me hope, honestly. Because
I mean, you know what it could be? It could just be that people, as you yourself said, people who do watch are maybe just more open-minded in general. And as a result of that, they're more open-minded to equality. And that was one of the big things where they actually speak about how people who do watch are more egalitarian when it comes to gender. And that's just a nice way of saying they're more happy for there to be equal responsibilities and things in the home and so on and so forth. So it wasn't as great as I thought it was going to be.
Ultimately.
But I threw it in anyway because I had already read about it and I thought, let's just have a brief discussion
I think that's interesting though, because as I said, I think it opens the door to more studies. Like this tells us that we need to study these kinds of topics. We need to study religion and the links to sexism and pornography and all of that. I think it's a good thing because it needs to start somewhere.
I think that if they had to do proper research,
yeah,
I imagine you'd find that it's negligent across the board because you will get both spectrums. Yeah, you'll get very sexist people watching and you'll get completely non-sexist people watching. Yeah. Because it all depends on what you want. See, that was the other issue. It was they just asked people who had watched an X-rated movie recently. Yeah. But what was the movie? Like, what was the context of the film? Do you get what I'm saying?
Could have been Wolverine or
Logan or something. No, man. It was proper, like, pornography. But I mean, like, if you're watching... because, like, you get categories on the sites, right? So, like, if you're watching, like, hardcore, I mean, that is... I don't know if you've seen, but like they're really hard on those women. And okay, that's a really bad. What I mean is like they choke them and stuff. You know what I mean? That to me would be more appealing to somebody who has a higher level of sexism because it's that control.
See, but you see, with you saying that now, I would say that might not necessarily mean like sexism in terms of making me a sandwich in the kitchen or bringing me a beer. But I personally, I wouldn't link those two, but there's nothing saying that. But
it could.
It could.
Because remember, it's a very slippery slope from believing certain stereotypes like that. Because saying that they should be in the kitchen making a sandwich is as as apt as saying, no, I don't believe women are good enough for politics. Of course. It's the same thing. Yeah. And then therefore that could then go to somewhere else where... maybe and of course we're speaking from a very masculine perspective now, whereby that person might be like, well, masculinity is power and therefore we have control. Again, we're just talking.
It's all conjecture.
Yes.
If anything, I would say that sexism and consuming pornography has a link to conservatism. I think the more conservative you and your family is,
but that's kind of
but all the others, I think that would be the biggest.
You see, now this all comes down to what I said about how flawed the research was, because there's so many variables here. Like, in order to really test this, you'd have to get people from all sorts of spectrums, and then you'd have to standardize what is being watched. Yes. So, like, you'd have to tell people, okay, you need to watch 3 videos.
Go look on the first page of
one where it's like, let's just assume from a sexist perspective, right? So one where it's a man being submissive to a woman, one where it's equal, and then one where the woman is submissive to the man. Get them to watch those and then to answer certain questions from each, while also finding out about their political beliefs and their backgrounds and so on and so forth. And then expand it also to more than just the USA.
Yeah, and obviously also have you watched it in the past and how many times do you watch it currently?
Yes.
Because that's also a factor.
And how it affects your views and
Yeah, this is just kind of saying, like, this needs to be...
Yeah, I know. I was disappointed when I eventually looked into it a bit more, but I figured, I'll just throw it in anyway. And then you, our audience, can listen to it.
Add to the discussion.
Yeah, add to the discussion. That's the end of NSFW.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, there we go. End of Get All 62, Season 2, Episode 20. It actually ended up being a very long episode.
Much more discussed.
When we were so worried we weren't going to have enough content, which doesn't often happen, but we really were like this morning, we were like, oh damn, we don't have much. But it's because we spoke. Yeah. We were actually...
Like, initially this morning when I woke up, it was only my two, or rather it was the steak thing and the the dinosaur thing
Yes.
that I added.
Yeah.
And we had your 2 NSFW topics.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, maybe we can make this work. And I added the ocean thing.
Yeah.
And then you started doing the notes.
Yeah.
And it just built up. And it just blew up. And yeah.
No, it was very good. I particularly loved our weekly question.
Oh yeah, it's a good one.
And so I'm very curious to those who have listened through to the end of the episode to please let us know, and all the other questions we had as well.
Yeah,
throughout the episode.
Through, yeah.
Let us know what you thought, and because we love hearing from you.
Yeah, well, we are trying to make it as discussion based as possible, and
I mean that's always
we
been
love
the goal,
when you guys jump in. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, then that is the end of the episode. Thank you for joining me, Ed. And for those of you who joined us for listening, we look forward to seeing you all again next week. Ciao for now.
Bye.